if we just have free time sitting randomly and we don't structure in our workflows or times when we work, you do the same. Like we fill our free time with work because we have this fear that we're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And that can be absolutely debilitating. And we still struggle with it now. Like there's times where I notice that I've got free time. I've pretty much done everything that like I want to get done or need to, but I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting doing nothing. I should be doing more, which that's why I try to set work blocks and hours in my calendar so that I'm like, obviously I'll work, sometimes I'll work over it. But for the most part, I'm like, that's the time, put my phone down, focus solely on that task and then try to switch off. So I mean, when we go away, if you go away with Tay or something, like I literally tell you, I'm like, fuck off, don't talk to me. Like, turn your phone off. I don't want to hear from you.
And you need that. I reckon if there's anyone that's running a business with another person at the moment, like there needs to be that mutual respect and understanding. And because it's vice versa. Like when you go away, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Don't talk to me. Brigger,
Jaden,
got a question for you.
better be good.
It's always good.
All right, bring it to me.
Or just opening that vulnerability door straight from the get-go.
We love it.
You do. You love a chapter of vulnerability. I want you to tell me what you think your biggest weaknesses are. Both, we'll make it a two-parter. Psychologically and physically.
Oof. That is big, isn't it? Psychologically, I think I let the fear of not being enough encompass me too much at times. That's a loaded question.
I told you it was a big one.
Yeah, I think psychologically that's probably the thing for me. Only because I've had like fails in the past and everyone has. Most of them I've learned from for sure. But yeah, I reckon there's probably just times where I let that inner voice sort of rule I guess my thought process and like take over, acknowledging the things that I have done really well, in my life. Because I know there is lots of those, but look, it's not all the time, just at times it pops up. And it's generally when, which we'll get into with this actually, but it's generally when I've got heaps going on. Like if I'm stressed, that's when that starts to come in, because I might start slipping up in certain areas and it's like, oh, remember what this led to last time. So yeah, probably that. Physically, are we talking like literally in regards to like being able to pick up weight and like how we look and all that stuff?
Yeah, you go with what you want, whether it's aesthetic appearance or whether it's like from a strength side of things, like weakest body part in terms of performance, weakest in terms of aesthetics.
Strength side of things would probably be my bench press, just in relativity to my deads and squats. And just my carbs.
I knew you were going to say that too. I didn't want to bring it up, but I was like, that one's going to come up for sure.
I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? They're not the biggest, but they make me run fast. I can jump high. I can jump far. We did our testing. They were pretty big jumps. And you know what? No one looks past the knees anyway.
Maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe like smaller calves are the go.
They are.
Yeah.
Heaps of people tell me. That's weird. They have small calves as well.
You stay together in your little cult.
All right. What about you?
My weaknesses psychologically, I would still say is negative self-talk / rumination. I still have a massive tendency to ruminate and start to spiral down on thoughts, and they typically skew towards negative ones rather than positive. So frustrating because when you have the self-awareness knowing that you're doing it, it's almost more frustrating because you catch yourself in the act, which allows you to pull yourself out of it sometimes, but it doesn't always stop you from going into it. Something I'm working on a lot more now is trying to minimize that rumination of how long I sit on it. We've seen that even the last couple of weeks of some busy weeks in the gym and a bit of stress, and how easy it is to start ruminating on those thoughts and start like spiraling down. Like it's easy to say be positive, but when it happens, it happens. And as much as I try to hold that framework of positivity, I definitely notice that as a habit, but it's something that I've been working on a lot too. So that's part one. Part two is my ability to finish King's Cup in King of Beers. Mate, like I've had, it's a tough one. I've had moments of heroic acts where, I've done the unthinkable. You remember that time camping? Chalky milk, beers, bit of hot wine,
We had a mix of almost every
Not a problem.
bit of alcohol in there.
Not a problem. Bit of peer pressure, but not a problem. Had one on the weekend, fell to absolute bits. Puked everywhere, no good.
Oh,
Everywhere.
Saturday?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
To be fair, there's no excuse here, but I was a little bit crook going into it. But look, it's not the first. It's not the first time it's happened. So a bit more consistency on that and finishing the King Cup, because I always get it. I don't know why. I don't know why it always unfolds like that. Every game, I always lose with cards in it, unless it's poker.
I rarely lose at games.
Oh, like,
So I've really had to.
It's a game of chance, but
No, it's not.
it's a game of chance. You can't count cards
to
on that.
find someone that's very shit faced and put it right in front of them, and hopefully they pull it.
Interesting. Physically for me, arms, triceps, they're just non-existent. They don't want to come to the party. They've never gone. Nah, you all think it, but it's not.
When you got the wife beater on in the gym, sweat running down the arms, looking jacked, good lighting in the gym.
It's after a couple of sets. It's blood work, mate. It's after a couple of sets. Pump looks good. It's set in. When I'm not rocking like that, bro, you wouldn't even be able to recognize it. You would not even be able to tell.
Yeah, it's the same for everyone. But
There's always something, mate. But it's all about balancing those strong points and those weak points, isn't it?
it is, which is going to be a pretty big topic of today's conversation.
It's all about the balance.
It's about the balance.
That's the balance. Yeah.
So I reckon by now, most people know that I feel like we live a pretty balanced life between work, business, training, friendships, getting loose on the occasion.
What does balance mean to you? How do you define balance?
I think it's having like the core areas of your life that you value and being able to spread your time evenly between those things.
Holy shit, I want to get that tattooed on my body.
That was pretty good.
That was insane.
That just came to me. I really like that. Yeah, I think it is that though. Like, I look at like my core areas and it'd be like business for sure, work. There's definitely times where that takes up too much of the energy that I'm trying to put out. But business, like family and relationships, everything from Tay to my immediate family. Growing up, I was lucky enough to always do like once a month, we would do catch-ups with my dad's side of the family. So that for me has always been like really, really close to home, making sure that I'm making time for that. It's funny because that's probably the thing that slips up a little bit when work takes over.
Yeah,
definitely. My training's always been a staple in my life as well. And then I think the fourth thing for me is like isolation, which is really funny. But with our line of work, like, and I love it so much. We're fortunate to be around people all the time.
for sure.
How I like to balance that is time by myself as well. Look, I think throughout most of my days and weeks, I spread it pretty evenly. The last couple of weeks is a good example of something we'll get into as well. But work just becoming hectic, big thing happening. Hopefully we can talk about it in a few weeks' time. But that taking a bit of stress on from that, these other areas that I usually give to, I tend to not start to give to as much. So yeah, I think balance for me is that.
So you essentially work it off like pillars of things in your life, right? Well, like you said, values, but you have like different pillars. So you might have like 4 main pillars and what goes into those. And then it's a matter of trying to balance those as well as possible.
Yeah, definitely. And then like what each of those 4 pillars look like, let's say work, for example. Work's obviously the gym itself, the key journal, making sure I'm spreading work evenly there. Making sure I'm showing up well enough for people in our classes that we're taking, our premium PTs, all that sort of stuff. And then family side of things and relationships is, that might be the date night each week with Tay, like we spoke about the other day. Making time for mum and dad love going down the bolo at Avoca, so it's generally going down there.
Pretty at the local, yeah.
Yeah. So I think just like being active about each of those pillars for me is, I guess, the benchmark that I try to use to tell myself whether I am spreading myself too thin or if I'm balancing shit pretty well.
That's the interesting part about it, because if you have these pillars lined up, you can have a look at these different ones, and then in terms of how you look at balance, it would be very individualized for everyone too, in terms of what the level of balance is encompassed within those, right? Because as well, when you look at it, there will be times where they will have to fall out of balance because you will need to prioritize something more. For example, like right now, you're having to prioritize a large amount of your training because you have a specific training goal. Like you're running like 4 times a week at the moment, which if you compare the amount of time you're spending on everything else, you might be investing a bit more time into your training at this point. So technically it might not be completely balanced.
Yeah, it's a heaps good.
But that's what you need to do. It's the same with times where we have to work, and there's times where we can kind of like mellow and flow with it.
Yeah.
But then there's other times where it's like we will have to sacrifice a date night or sacrifice a training session in order to do that. Balance is such an interesting thing to talk about, because I think we look at balance as equilibrium, but I don't think balance works like that all the time, because if you try to keep them balanced all the time, you'd never really go anywhere. They'd all kind of just stay where they are as opposed to actually growing. So each one or two at a time or whatever it is, sometimes depending on what your values are, need to kind of fall out of balance, and you give time on them, but you're aware of it too. So yeah, it's interesting with that, because in terms of balance, you need to be aware of that, so that when you do put a bit more time into something, that you don't go too far that way, that something else starts slipping to the point where it's detrimental. So you have enough balance that you're still maintaining enough of a relationship with these values, but knowing when you need to put time into extra things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100% it does. Like, and there'll be times where it's like that. And honestly, from from the very get-go though, like work takes up, say if those 4 areas are 25% each, if you were trying to keep it equal and even, I know that that's not it for me. Like 50% of my energy definitely goes towards work, because 100%. That's what I'm doing every single day.
100%.
And then so when I talk about balance, it's like, what are these 3 other areas of my life and how are they fitting in outside of the work situation? Because like I'm really lucky with Tay, like she knows work is my priority. You know, like she is a massive priority as well, but she's so understanding that like if there's times I need to get on the laptop when I get home from work and finish off jobs or stuff like that, she's very accommodating with that. So yeah, it's a good point you make. And I don't think you're ever going to have like, and it comes down to the person, like what you value in your life.
100%.
It's on you and it's up to you. I don't think it'll ever just be like a 25% split across those 4 areas, but I try to do what I can within that, ultimately that 100% makeup to try and fit those things in.
Well, that's what, I wanted to touch on that, because when we talk about a balanced lifestyle, I think we always just compare it as black and white of being healthy, training, working, and then the opposite way of going out and getting smashed.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Yeah.
Which, like, not mad about, but in terms of when we look at that, I think we compare those two of being like, that's the balance, where that is a balance in itself too, but there's so many other things that like factor into that as well, as a matter of that's comparing a physical feat with a physical feat in terms of physical health, you know. But when you're looking at different avenues of like you even saying like socializing and spending time alone or working, not working, whatever it is, like you can compare them to other things, but it's the whole view of what balance encompasses in your life, not just a matter of, oh, we live a balanced lifestyle being like, yeah, we either go out and do this or we drink.
Yeah. Well, I actually want to explore that then. When has there been a time in your life where maybe that balance skewed the other way a little bit too far? Tell me about when you got absolutely shit-faced.
Probably when I was like from the ages of 14 to 23, there was no fucking balance whatsoever.
It's like really only the last 3 years that we've been switching on.
Man, I was going to say, like, I'm pretty good now. Like, we'll go out and have a beer with mates and stuff. And if we turn one on, we'll turn one on. Like, you know when the switch is there. But it's got to be a good event now. But I reckon I have to give a shout out to Pierso and our partners when we went to Bali, because we had a night there and it was pretty fucking saucy. Like we went to
tomato barbecue. What are we talking?
All of it. Garlic aioli ranch. It was a combo. We went to Finn's. Is that the big?
Yep.
Yeah, we went to Finn's. Got one of those beds. We got there early, like 2-3 o'clock, and then Pierso and I were sitting on these. They were like these little rocket injectors, bro, with the size of them. They were like, I can't remember the size, like 200 mils or something like that of rum and coke. Or bourbon and coke. And it was like buy one, get one free. So we like already paid a deposit. And so we're sitting on these. The girls were having either Smirnoffs or like cocktails or something like that. But every time a drink of theirs came out, we were getting 2 drinks. And these were like past the standard too. They were almost 2 standard drinks in each. We pumped down like 3 or 4 Smirnoff, and then we had like between like 8 to 10 of these bourbon and cokes.
Bit of fighting juice.
Started looking at each other, looking and squinting the eyes. What the fuck you
start
say?
thinking people looking at you in a funny way.
Yeah. Start looking at Pierso. What the fuck you say? We had like 8 to 10 of these. Then we started having some shots, and then Pierso. It's always fucking Pierso.
It is liability.
Had to call the techies. He called in the tequila, and everything just went downhill. I'm actually genuinely surprised. Like Pierso didn't drown in the pool. Like there was a moment where like he could have been face down. I wouldn't have even noticed. when we got in the pool from there, we got back to the place at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it was one of those nights where when I woke up in the morning, I genuinely couldn't remember the entire night. Like, had a piece of I got no fucking idea how I even got home on the back of a bike. We got back, Pearso's on all fours, crawling around like a dog, puking in like different areas of the villa. No idea where he was. I have no idea how we even got onto the tequila, how we got home, anything. I got no idea, bro. But that was a big fucking night.
Bali's so good for that though. Like, you can get shit faced and it's like organized chaos there. Like, you know, somehow you're going to get home. Like,
No idea.
Balinese guys that drive the bikes are so knowledgeable of the area, and you just go, oh, I'm staying here or whatever, and then you just teleport there.
Bro, we literally were there, and then we're back at the villa, and like looking back, I'm like, how the fuck did that even happen? Like, I don't know how Pearso stayed on, bro. They must have tied a rope around him because he was literally like, he was paraplegic. Like, when he got into the villa, bro, he wasn't getting on 2 feet. Like, he was around all fours everywhere.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good.
Insane.
Picture it. After being pissed with Pearso, I can picture that.
Oh, yeah. He's got it in him. What about you?
Oh, fuck, there's way too many.
It's hard to choose.
You know that's bad looking back.
I was going through my ages. I had a good one from when I was 13, really good one when I was 15. That was a cracker, but we'll go recent.
I've told you this story, and I think it's probably top tier for experiences that I've had, been way too blind. But 2022, me and one of my best mates went and did an America trip. And first, we landed in Hawaii first. So we did like 3 nights there before then going over to LA. It was like first night fever. Like, we got there, like the time zones are heaps
vibes
different.
are high.
Yeah.
Vibes are so high.
We're like, we'll just go out for some brekkie and then we'll go down the beach for a swim. And like, you're in Waikiki. Like, it was my first time to America. So everything I've seen photos of, especially Hawaii, was just that. I was like, how good is this? Seriously. Lunchtime, just start having a couple beers. Early arvo, ended up going somewhere to have a few more. And then we've heard about this like rooftop bar that they had right in Hawaii, like right on the beach. We're like, got to go there, surely. So we go up there, a bit of a dance floor. It's not happening yet. We actually started it, I believe.
What time was this?
This was early arvo now, so it would have been, I reckon probably 3 p.m.
So you started the dance floor 3 p.m.
No. We got to that. We went up to the bar and we met a bunch of people and then went up to the bar with them. Me and Hode, my mate, chatting to the bartender, and she was like, what do you guys want? Where you from? Having a yarn. It's like, oh, we have to get the Mai Tai, surely. Like, the Mai Tai is like the main drink in Hawaii. She was like, all right, awesome. So do you want like a single, a double, a triple, or a quad shot? I was like, a quad shot? Like, what? As in like 4 shots in one? She was like, yeah. I was like, oh, like, are you allowed to do that? I don't know if she was or not, but she was just like, yeah, it's sweet, it's fun. So we proceeded to have, I reckon, it doesn't sound like heaps, but probably like 8 of these Mai Tais.
What?
Yeah, but obviously because they were like so loaded up, we got so shit-faced. Anyway, it got to like nighttime, dance floor, not much happening. Me and Hode got in there, a little bit more happening. People start coming up, we're dancing.
The hero they needed.
I'm on this like Mai Tai, dancing, having a boogie. And I just remember like just kind of tripping a little bit. And and I caught myself and I was like, oh, baby. I was like, this is the time. I was like, I know I need to go. I was like, I know I need to go. And I grabbed Hode and I was responsible. I was like, man, I'm fucking smashed. We need to get out of here. And he was sweet. He was like, yeah, sweet, man. Got in the elevator, went back down. We're walking along like the front of the main strip of Hawaii in Waikiki and just moving forward. Everything's just going forward. And then Hode, I don't remember it, but Hode just remembers walking next to me. And over the course of about 4 or 5 steps, I just drifted to the right and just went, boom, just head first into this bush. And from that moment, I remember nothing. And I don't think it's because I hit my head. I was just blind as. But we had our hotel, which was another like 1 kilometer away. And apparently and I have memories that come back to me at times about this. These like 4 jocks from America picked me up and walked me on their shoulders. And they were like college football athletes or something. It was not how I was expecting the night to end, but I'm glad that it didn't end probably any worse than that.
Massive cuck getting carried by a bunch of college athletes.
So cuck. I felt so
just coming over there and can't even handle his booze. Bro, that's, if you're doing quad shots, what's that, 32 standard drinks?
Yeah, and we were punishing. Bro, and they're like the nicest drink. Like, so they're so easy to drink as well. It was unwell, but good times.
So red all day. I love it.
Oh, all right, talk to me. How do you structure this balance in your life? Because I know you're pretty bloody good with it as well. Probably better than I am.
I think we're still learning. We're definitely still learning more of the work side of things. The biggest thing for us now is time management. Time management in the sense of we have to schedule almost everything. That sounds weird because it sounds like it takes the spontaneity away from things, but it's the way it is. So
It actually creates more freedom.
it does. It 100% does, because if you don't structure it and put it into your schedule for the week, you procrastinate. You always do. You procrastinate on, or you just forget about other things. So the biggest thing that I've done, or what we've even done as well, a couple of things. So I put everything into my calendar. The times that I train, the times that I'm doing a work block, any tasks I have to get done, date night, going out, like I put everything of that into my calendar. So then one, I don't double up on things and double book, but two, it also shows where I've got time and where I don't have time. It sounds so simple, but it's just doing it too. Like everyone has access to a calendar. I would 100% say everyone has some sort of access to a calendar. If you don't, draw one, like build one.
Whiteboard on the fridge, do it now.
Yeah, put it on your wall if you have to. I don't care. Get one of those magic erasers. Everyone's got access to that. It's a matter of putting things into your calendar and really taking responsibility of the time that you have and knowing, okay, I've got this amount of time. This is what I need to do. This is where I can have a bit of free time. Even we've put in structure now, like it's got to a point because I noticed for myself, I wasn't switching off as much from work. Like it was very quickly becoming 24/7 because we're like, we need to do this. We need to focus on that. Or what if we include that? What if we do this?
7 p.m. rule, baby.
Yeah, 7 p.m. and no weekends. Briggsy and I have created like a rule for ourselves because we're messaging each other till 9, 10 p.m. at night. And over the weekend, we're messaging each other. So even if we were going out on date nights or trying to have quiet time, we're constantly reminded of our work. So,
and I'm waking up fucking getting messages from Jade and then having to see this dickhead's face an hour later when I go into work.
Doesn't it? So what we've done is we've set up a structure even for that. So nothing over 7 p.m. Like we don't talk to each other. We don't look at each other. We just hate each other. Nothing.
We're going to start gaming together, but he won't buy a PlayStation, the dog.
PlayStation's, it's just not it, man.
PlayStations are so much better.
That's like kids Play-Doh. Don't do it. Xbox, bro. It's hype. Get it, we'll talk.
Sorry, PlayStation dominate the market. But anyway, continue.
So it's not about money. It's about the feeling. Xbox is better. We have a schedule that we don't message each other after 7 p.m. and we've stuck to that actually pretty well, which sounds weird, but it's essentially just allowing us to actually switch off from work and try not to think about it. And even if we do think of something, we just put it down in notes. And that's the same for weekend too. So unless we're catching up and getting a beer or something on the weekend, we don't talk about work on weekends. And that's all part of time management and scheduling too. So we schedule in even messages and things like that the busier we get. That's been the biggest thing that I've done in terms of being able to have balance, because if I don't schedule things in, I would have zero balance. I would probably work 99% of the time, train in between that as well, and I would just leave free time whenever it might pop up, but I always find a way to put work in free time. So
yeah, that's fucking pretty much everything I do anyway.
Yeah, make notes, mate. Put it down your phone.
I've been doing that.
Take it off me again. Yeah, it's no surprise. You always do.
Yeah, no, it's
What about you?
It's all pretty bang on. Like I don't really have much to add to that.
Be the same.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like people say, might be a bit full on or like controlling to have like your whole life scheduled out like that. But like there is a lot of moving parts in our lives at the moment. And if I want to show up as best as I can for date night and then for family time, and when we catch up with extended family, like I know scheduling that in is almost like when I look at it in my calendar, it's like, all right, that is completely free space for just that thing. So work, anything outside of that, training, that completely means fucking nothing for that time that I can then be there for date night, for family time, whatever it looks like. So yeah, just schedule like Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar for
me too.
Both of my businesses, and it works really well.
Well, that's why we structure our work as well, for that exact reason, because I think if we just have free time sitting randomly and we don't structure in our workflows or times when we work, you do the same. Like we fill our free time with work because we have this fear that we're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And that can be absolutely debilitating. And we still struggle with it now. Like there's times where I notice that I've got free time. I've pretty much done everything that like I want to get done or need to, but I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting doing nothing. I should be doing more, which that's why I try to set work blocks and hours in my calendar so that I'm like, obviously I'll work, sometimes I'll work over it, but for the most part, I'm like, that's the time, put my phone down, focus solely on that task and then try to switch off. So, I mean, when we go away, if you go away with Tay or something, like I literally tell you, I'm like, fuck off, don't talk to me. Like, turn your phone off. I don't want to hear from you.
And you need that. I reckon if there's anyone that's running a business with another person at the moment, like there needs to be that mutual respect and understanding. And because it's vice versa. Like when you go away, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Don't talk to me. Following this with our time management and going into balance, we've touched on this a bit before in a couple of other podcasts, but talking about goals and setting goals. So when we're looking at this approach of having this balance, because I mean, like we set ourselves pretty big goals, I like to think. Well, they're big to us, but we're still just dudes. Like we're still just guys that just do this,
fucking figure it out as we go.
Still figuring it out. So we're not, by no means, we're no different to what everyone else is doing. We just have different things in place, but in terms of how we set goals as well. So I want to dive into it a little bit more in terms of when we're looking at having this balanced lifestyle, how we actually set realistic goals. Because we see this happen so often. Like people will be living this lifestyle and maybe it might be in the direction of they're going out every single weekend and drinking. And then they walk into the gym and they're like, no, had enough of it. Like I'm cutting all alcohol out. I'm cutting out all fast food. I'm just going to focus solely on training. And sometimes it works, but then a lot of the times I'm like, really? Like you've been living a lifestyle like this for 5 years and you think you're just going to click your fingers and it's just gone now because it's this all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think in terms of approaching that, how we set realistic goals, or how do people set realistic goals with it?
Yeah, I think the whole like absolute approach isn't a winner. I've seen some people in the past like that I've worked with that have made those massive lifestyle changes to go from just getting fucked up every weekend to then wanting to look after their health and fitness. So it's cool. I don't think majority of the population have a mindset that strong to just go hardball like that. So I think making it achievable has got to be number one. Like the training structure or the modality that you decide to choose to take on and make a part of your life, it's got to be something that's achievable and that you enjoy for sure. So the whole like SMART rule approach, that's definitely a good one. Like it's the template and it's been that for so long because it works so well. What was your question again? Because I got excited about that absolute there.
Never listen to me, bro. You never listen. Nothing changes. How we set realistic goals for finding that balance in our life.
Yeah, how we set them. So the SMART, if you haven't used a SMART template, definitely use that because that will help establish what the goal is going to be. It gives a time frame on it as well, which I think is so important. You got to have like a realistic approach to when you're actually going to get that thing done. So like health and fitness, what would be a good example would be like our goals that we set at the start of the year, right? My run work goal, I knew that I had the deadline, which is Bay to Bay. Okay, so I've given myself, I think we're doing like 14 weeks or something, 15 weeks.
Or 16, yeah.
Yeah, in the lead up to that point. The thing that's helping me achieve that goal is your coaching. Okay, so outsourcing, I think, is such a smart idea, especially if you're like getting into your training and starting to take it seriously and you actually want to maximize your gains and your results. Get a coach. Like get a coach. Just mitigate. You can still learn along the process, and that should be the goal as a coach anyway, to educate as you're working with that person. But it takes out just any of the guesswork, obviously leading to achieving that goal. But I reckon my biggest thing is just like, you got to make it achievable because people look at numbers. There's a few people in the gym actually that were like, they're at a certain point with a weight that they're moving, but they want to move, triple digits or like 105 on that thing. And I know that might be out of their range for the next 12 months or even the next 6 months because we're halfway through this year. So for me, achievability, I think, is number one. Otherwise, it's deflating when you fucking like don't hit that goal, which I've got a good example of me not hitting a goal. But what's your thoughts on it?
I think, yeah, definitely what you said about making it achievable. We have this, it's not always bad, but we have this attitude of just aiming for the stars. And if it's almost like out of reach, if it's not out of reach, I should say, sorry, then it's not even worth pursuing. I definitely set goals that are very far out of reach, but that's because I've also built a habit of setting achievable goals that I've ticked off.
Yep.
Like I've built reputation on doing that to the point where I have confidence of pushing myself out of a zone.
Yep.
So looking at setting achievable goals, it's like starting to formulate and build a habit of making it happen and like doing it. I think the other thing that people need to do is a follow-up question of what are their goals is why do you want to do what you want to do? When you look at that and people come in, they go, I just don't want to go out and drink on the weekend anymore. I just want to be healthy. It's like, that's fantastic, but dive in more. Like, okay, why do you want to cut out drinking every single weekend? What is it about it? Like, what don't you want to feel like? What don't you want to do? What's the true meaning? They're like, oh, I just don't want to feel shit. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but like, why? And what are you willing to sacrifice too? Because then when you look at that, it's like, well, okay, if you stop going out, you might not be as social. Are you okay to give that up? So I don't think people think about what they want to set enough. It's almost like acting off impulse. So they just go, oh, they wake up with a shit hangover. They go, fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore. Sometimes that's the switch that people need, and that's fine. But I think a lot of the times they go, no, I don't want to drink anymore. And then one of their mates goes, hey, come out, we'll go and watch the footy, have a couple of beers. And they go, oh, sounds like so good. But like I said, I wasn't going to drink anymore.
And they feel like they're going against what they're trying
and
to
they feel like they're going against what they stand for. But I'm like, you can definitely do both. You can find a way to manage both. There's a lot of people who don't want to have that balance and don't want to go out for a couple of beers and they just like living that life. That's fantastic. Go for your life. We're talking about, obviously, we like having that balance. We like pushing ourselves to see what we're capable of, but we like being able to go out and have a beer. And over the years, we've created this healthy psychological relationship, I think, with that mindset to be able to do that. So
for sure, we
look at what do we really want? What are the sacrifices? What do we do? Like I got a perfect story looking at that in terms of like setting like goals and not going to plan. Being in school when I started getting into the gym and following all the bodybuilding diets, bro, I'd rock up to school with fucking tin sardines and like green beans, and it like it still makes me gag like thinking about it. And like they're bringing in like that people have good meals at school or like they have pizza or canteen stuff. I'm like, you guys are like so below me. Like this is I'm making something happen. And there was like parties and shit that I missed out on. And I made that choice at the time, but like when I look back on that didn't go to plan for me, because I'm like, I missed out on heaps of social events and I missed out on heaps of things that brought a lot of people together. And I wasn't a part of that because I was like, oh, in order for me to do this, like I can't have that. I get now, like I understand the sacrifices, but when I look back, I would have been perfectly okay eating relatively good throughout the week, but then having a couple beers or enjoying myself. And I didn't. I just went all or nothing the other way. And now I look back, I'm like, man, if I just went back in school, I wish I just was like just chilling a little bit more, you know, like just actually enjoying it with everyone else.
You're also fucking 16. Like.
Yeah, exactly. And then go the other way. I just go out and fucking end up in a bush somewhere.
Well, I think you can have both. And I think probably 95, or it has to be at least 95% of people aren't trying to be the top of their league in either their chosen sport or bodybuilding and all these different types of health and fitness. So like you can have both. Like I feel like if you're restricting yourself just for the sake of saying you live that super healthy lifestyle all the time, but you're not actually happy, fucking like give yourself a little bit of a break.
It's a scale, man. Like it's like we were talking about. It's not like you go where you want to go out, you have 0 beers or you have 10. I'm like,
you can balance 3 to 5.
You can have the 3 to 5. Yeah. You know, you can have the 8 to 12.
5, if you dip to the 5, you end up going to the 10 and the 20. So
that's what I mean. Like people, I think when people hear us talk about this, they think, oh, they're saying like because they train, then if they do want to go out on the weekend, they go out and have 8 to 10 beers. I'm like, I'm saying like balance is different for everyone, but if we want to train really hard and then on the weekend we catch up and go out for a dinner and grab a pizza and grab a couple of beers, we're so at peace with that. Like I'm not sitting there being like, fuck, I really shouldn't do this and this is going against all my fitness. I'm like, like I don't care. And then if we have a big night when it comes up and we're happy to do it, we do it. But that's the balance that I'm talking about, is not the feeling that you can't have the 3 to 5. It's the either have it and go full send if I do go out, or I don't have it at all.
I even like if you know a big night's coming up, like that doesn't go in my calendar, but mentally I make a note on that. And I know that like the next day I'm a lazy piece of shit and I'm going to sit on the couch and probably watch fucking Netflix all day. But I've told myself that's going to happen.
You schedule it. It's almost like you schedule it too.
You're not sitting there fucking beating yourself up about it. It's like, I knew I was going to have 20 beers and like my body's probably not going to react the same as when I don't have 20 beers the next day. So I'm going to do nothing.
And like you said, that you have the freedom to do that. Like when you like mentally plan for it and when you live this kind of way, you can do that.
Yeah, you can afford.
You're not going out there and doing it in some sort of like self-sabotage way where you wake up and you go, why do I keep doing this, man? It's like you wake up and you're like, yeah, like I wanted the 20 beers.
It's complimentary to my life. Which sounds funny saying that having 20 beers is complimentary to my life.
It can be
on the occasion,
complimentary. Yeah.
I have a great fucking night.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
it doesn't need to be one way or the other.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people in our gym balance both their health and their business and their work and family time like really, really well.
What's great examples?
Jacob Bishop.
The Bish man.
Yep. Fuck. Jacob's been ripping and like he commits to himself every single morning, gets in for the morning classes. We just finished our strength testing and he like overloaded on all of his movements, like getting strong as fuck. But I know that like as soon as we finish that session, he's in the shower at the gym, freshening himself up, going straight to work. He's like works as hard on his health and fitness as he does on his work. And then through our conversations in the gym, I know that the time and dedication that he gives to his partner and trying to get their hands on a house at the moment, all these things that he inspires me in regards to balance in life.
And they just went traveling. They just got back from a trip from Japan too.
Yep.
Like that's unreal, man. That's so sick. That's exactly what we talk about, which again, like people listening, it probably sounds like just everyday things. It's like, yeah, someone just goes to the gym and they just go to work and they just come home and yeah, like I get that. But as well, that's kind of what balance is. Like it's not, it doesn't have to be anything special. That's what I mean. It's living a way that you can afford to do all these things and them existing in harmony rather than it being like, oh, well, he works so hard, but he's never at home with his partner or, you know, he's always at work. So then his training is super inconsistent because he's always prioritizing that. Like that's a perfect example of showing you like you can just live a really like cool and fun life and it doesn't have to be extreme.
Balance, bro. Jay and Kate, I think these guys do it so well also. They're members of our gym, but they'd be in their 40s, got 2 kids. Again, we've had a few coffee catch-ups and a few beer catch-ups with Jay.
Colour beers, yeah. We put a little bookmark in that one, didn't we?
Still almost had him for the rest of the night.
I was going to say, there's still plenty to finish on that one.
Yeah, I just think they've done, really well in their careers and even just like flipping properties and stuff like that as well. So to see how they show up, like as a power couple, man, I fucking love it. Like so they're in their 40s, they're living pretty bloody comfortably. They could just kick back and, just let life take its, its course, but they're in the gym fucking together all the time training. They're helping us out with stuff as well, like for business. So it's just really cool to see their approach to life at, at the age that they're at the moment.
It shows you what the capabilities are in terms of like how to live a life. Like you see so many stories of people, either families or people in their 40s or 50s. And like, I'm going to be real transparent, man. They seem pretty miserable. Like whether it's like a lack of finances or stress or lack of enjoyment in their job or lack of health is like a big one as well. That's what I do because I don't want my life to look like that. And then you've got people like Jay and Kate where I'm like, fuck yeah, like that's what I want it to be like. And it's so humble too. Like they're just existing and living. They're just normal people doing normal things.
I had a coffee with Jay last week and from what I've taken from it is like, you have to have a crack in life and take opportunities, but he's like very intentional about the decisions he makes. He's very calculated, but he did say he's like, you just need to have a crack in life.
Just need to have a crack.
And we always talk about that. So
completely agree.
Matt and Megan as well. Huge. Had a good chat with them last week. They've just fucking smashed their strength phase as well. Matt added 40 kilos to his deadlift and Kate added 20 kilos.
Coming back from like a previous back injury too, like before we met him, which is huge. Like he's essentially getting over a whole belief system that he's injured too.
Yep.
Which is massive.
And then the weekend before, like they went away with, I think it was 3 other couples for like a birthday weekend where they just were like so open about it. They're like, yeah, we're drinking and just eating cheese boards. And I'm like, again, it seems like things that people do, but it's awesome to see that they have that balance between their health and fitness. I know they both work their asses off as well. So
you can have both.
You can have both.
The cheese and the wine and do some deadlifts, brother. You can have both.
Few things I just want to shout out very fast. Molly did a 105 kilo back squat.
Insane.
Pretty sure that's more than I can squat. So thank you.
Me too combined.
Brookie, 190 kilograms deadlift.
That's insane.
That's a bee's dick away from fucking 200 club. And Jeremy, not so much number based, but Jeremy started with us a few weeks back and he's come back from a really bad back injury and he's saying he's the strongest he's ever felt. So love that.
That's what we love about it too, man. Like people hear the word strength and they get this idea in their head, but if you're stronger and your body's more resilient, you live a much more pain-free, injury-free life. We've got so many people who've come into the gym who have been in pain. They're like, I don't want to be in pain anymore. Or they're like, I've had this debilitating injury, and they start lifting. They break down the belief that they can still move and do work, and they get themselves to a point where they're living a much better life.
Yep.
And again, they're not training to be the biggest, most successful athlete. Like, they're just training to feel better and to enjoy life more. That's what we're all about, man.
Quality of life. That's a massive thing I've taken with my own training as well. Is that like I want to
Quality of life.
live a long ass life where I feel good.
100%. Now, you wanted to send them out with a little bit of a quote, did you?
Yes, this is about balance. So
I'm interested to hear this.
I love Stoicism. It's a philosophy that I am into, and I think this encompasses balance pretty well. So it says from Seneca, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future, not to amuse ourselves with either hopes or fears, but to rest satisfied with what we have, which is sufficient. For he that is so wants nothing. The greatest blessing of mankind are within us and within our reach. A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not.
Wow.
Comparison, the thief of joy. Focus on yourself, focus on your own shit. Show up for yourself.
And find the balance.
Find the balance.
We'll leave that with you guys. That's a good one.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. See ya.